Hello, my name is David Sharma, and today we are going to learn communication systems. Now, this complete subject of communication systems can be divided into four main sections. The first section is analog communication, second section is random variables and process, third section is digital communication, fourth section is information theory. And it's not like all these sections are independent of each other, they are interlinked. So, whatever the concepts which we are going to study in analog communication are going to be useful in other sections also. So it is important to thoroughly understand each and every section to understand the whole subject. Important textbooks for this subject are Provakis and Salehi for digital communication and random variables and processes, Simon Haykins for analog communication, or you can also refer to BP Lati for analog communication. And most of the time we are going to face problem in random variables and processes. So it is important we solve SCORM series of random variable and process. So once we have done and understood this subject, any kind of exam like GATE or any kind of PSU exams which has communication system in their syllabus is going to be very easy. Now let us start with analog communication. Right, let us see the chapters present in analog communication, and once we're done with analog communication, then we are going to move to section 2, that is random variables and processes. So in analog communication, chapter 1, what we are going to see is we are going to see signals and system concept, that is Fourier transform. We will review it and we will only take the concepts that are required in our subject, and then we will see a basic communication system. So later whatever we are going to study, like amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, phase modulation, all are going to be based on this basics of communication system. And then we will start with the real part. The first modulation technique which we are going to learn is amplitude modulation, and this amplitude modulation has some variants, even that we are going to see in depth. Then we will see angle modulation. In angle modulation we will see FM and phase modulation, and at the end we will see amplitude modulation and frequency modulation receivers, that is super heterodyne receivers. And textbook you can refer Simon Haykin or BP Lati. If you're following the lectures, you don't even require the textbooks. Let us begin with chapter 1, that is review of Fourier transform and basics of communication system. Let us see what we are going to see in chapter 1. So in chapter 1, first we will talk about electromagnetic spectrum, and in that electromagnetic spectrum what frequency range we use in communication system. Then we will see a generalized block of communication system, a general block. We will see block diagram and we will try to understand each and every block of a general communication system. Then we will see a concept called as modulation, which is very important in communication system, and we will see why we need that modulation concept in communication system. Then we'll start reviewing Fourier transform, which is very important for our understanding of communication system. And then we will see definition of modulation. There are various definitions for modulation, we will see that. And at the end we will try to get a complete picture of modulation and demodulation together. Right, so let us begin with the first topic. Okay, so now let us start with the first topic, that is electromagnetic spectrum and frequency range for some common signal. What is electromagnetic spectrum? Electromagnetic spectrum is nothing but arrangement of different electromagnetic signals according to their increasing order of frequency or decreasing order of their wavelength, or whatever it might be. So now, what are some electromagnetic signals? Some electromagnetic signals are nothing but radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet ray, X-ray, gamma ray. All these are electromagnetic signals, and they are here in this given picture are arranged according to the frequency. So now radio wave has smaller frequency when compared to microwave, right? The frequency is around 10 power 4 for radio wave, 10 power 8 for microwave, 10 power 12, like that. Frequency is increasing, and gamma ray has the highest frequency, radio wave has the lowest frequency. Let us talk about this part of the electromagnetic spectrum, that is UV, X-ray and gamma rays. See, as the frequency is very high, we know that wavelength is inversely proportional to frequency. Wavelength is inversely proportional to frequency. So if the frequency is very high, the wavelength is very small. So now the wavelength of ultraviolet, X-ray and gamma ray is to the atomic level. Now all these three electromagnetic signals can cause harm to humans and plants and animals, or to every life, because they have the capability of altering the DNA, right? And also you can see here, these three are blocked by atmosphere. Also, these three rays are emitted or radiated by any body having very high temperature. So these three are generally emitted by or radiated by sun, star or black holes that have this very high temperature. It's not like we cannot artificially produce these waves on earth. We can, and where we use these rays are in medical science, that especially for cancer treatment. So it's clear we cannot use these waves for communication because they are harmful for us and for all living beings. Now let us talk about radio and microwaves. These two are most oftenly used. Infrared is used in some special cases, and visible light we use in optical fiber communication. So we have to focus only on this part of the spectrum for communication, that is radio waves, microwaves, infrared and visible light. Rest we cannot use. Now let us see some range of frequency for some common signals. Voice signal has frequency range from 300 Hz to 3.5 kilohertz. What is this voice signal? See, whenever I'm speaking, my throat is going to produce some sound, and that sound is going to have some frequency component present in it, and the range of the frequency component can be from 300 Hz to 3.5 kilohertz. This is physically measured, and the voice signal cannot have any component present outside this frequency range. Similarly, audio. What is audio? Like, we have CD players, music player, laptop, phones. They produce sound waves of the frequency range from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Everything, all the musical instrument, any musical instrument you take, whatever the frequency it is going to produce is going to be between this range. And video signals is from 0 to 4.5 megahertz. The data signals that are in form of bits, 0, let's say this is 1, in the form of pulses, if we are transmitting it on an electrical wire, so it's going to be 1 0 1 0. So this frequency depends on the pulse width which we are using to denote a bit. So it's depending on the pulse width, right? Frequency depends on the pulse width. How inversely or directly, that we will see. It's basically inversely. Okay, voice signal, remember, 300 Hz to 3.5 kilohertz. Audio signal from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Video signal 0 to 4.5 megahertz. And data signal depends on the pulse width. Frequency depends on the pulse width. Now let us move to the next topic, that is generalized block of communication system. In communication system we have mainly three parts. First part is transmitter, then we have the channel, this is the channel part, and then we have the receiver. So main three parts are transmitter, channel, receiver. Transmitter is the source of information, receiver is the destination of information, and channel is the intermediate that is helpful for carrying the information from transmitter to receiver. So at the receiver part, let's say we have a voice signal. We have a voice signal. Now this voice signal is nothing but difference in air pressure. So a transducer is used. Example can be a microphone. Microphone that will convert this air pressure difference into a electrical signal, equivalent electrical signal. Now to a modulator we give electrical signal as an input. Modulator performs the operation of modulation. What is modulation? I will give a small introduction here. Modulation means electrical because this is a voice signal, right? I told voice signal frequency range is 300 hertz to 3.5 kilohertz. What this modulator is going to do is nothing but increase the frequency of that received input signal. Whatever input it's receiving, its frequency it's going to increase. So what operation it perform? Modulation operation. Modulation operation means increasing the frequency. Right. So once modulation operation is done on the input signal, now that signal is given to the channel. Now this channel can be wired or wireless. This channel can be wired or wireless. In case of wireless, we will have to use antenna that will convert the one-dimensional signal, that is electrical signal, into a space signal, like three-dimensional signal, right? So here we'll have to put an antenna so that will radiate the signal, right? In case of wired signal, we'll just have to connect it through wire. In wired also we have different kinds of cable, like optical fiber cable, coaxial cable, or twisted pair cable, and each of these cables have their advantages and disadvantages, which we're not going to discuss here right now, right? So channel can be wired or wireless. In wireless we'll have to use an antenna, or it can be wired. We can directly connect through optical fiber cable or coaxial cable or twisted cable between the transmitter and receiver. In the channel we use something called as repeaters. Now what is the job of these repeaters? See, because the distance between the transmitter and receiver will be very long, so intermediate we use repeaters so that we can increase the power of the signal which is being transmitted. So at the receiver, signal to noise ratio is fair enough, so we can get the message signal from the transmitted signal. Now for analog communication, repeaters are nothing but amplifiers. So amplifiers, we know they increase the amplitude of input signals, so we can use amplifiers. In case of digital communication, these repeaters will be called as regenerative repeaters, which we will see when we are studying digital communication, right? Now there is something called as channel bandwidth and the transmitted signal bandwidth. Whatever signal is being transmitted, that its bandwidth. So we have two property. One property is the channel property, and it's called bandwidth, and the other property is of the signal which is being transmitted, and it's called transmitted signal bandwidth. Channel bandwidth must be as high as possible. Channel bandwidth, what is bandwidth? First of all, bandwidth is nothing but range of frequency. Let's say Airtel. Airtel is a company. It has bought bandwidth from 30 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz. This 30 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz is the channel bandwidth which is owned by Airtel. So now in this bandwidth it can transmit signals, and these transmitted signals will have frequency range between 30 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz. So it's better to have a larger bandwidth channel, right? Now, as many signal as possible in this bandwidth. So what should be the case? The signal bandwidth, signal, that is the transmitted signal bandwidth, must be as small as possible. So I can send a lot of signal in the same channel together, right? So we have channel bandwidth and transmitted signal bandwidth, and channel bandwidth must be as high as possible, more the so the channel bandwidth must be as high as possible, and transmitted signal bandwidth must be as low as possible. So we can multiplex a large number of signal in the available channel and transmit them together. Now once the transmitted signal is received by the receiver, first what is going to do is demodulation. What is demodulation? It is the opposite process of modulation. It is opposite of modulation. So what demodulation is going to do is, transmitted signal will be of high frequency, so it's going to convert to a low frequency. So here we get low frequency message, right? Now this message will be of the form electrical form, but we humans cannot understand electrical forms, right? Physically we cannot understand. We can understand sound, light, we can see light, right? So this electrical form again needs to be converted into some physical form that can be done by a transducer such as speaker. So whatever the message was of the low frequency, this speaker will convert into an again air pressure differential, that will be sound, and that sound can be picked by our ears, and we can understand whatever the message the sender had sent. So this is the whole process, from transmitter, how the signal goes to the channel, and from channel how it comes to the receiver, and from receiver what two main operations happen, and then how we get the information and how we consume the information. Let us move to the next topic. We've seen modulation and demodulation. Now let's understand why we need modulation. Modulation was converting low frequency message signal to high frequency signal. Now what is this? This process is nothing but modulation, right? Now why do we need modulation? The first reason is we can reduce the physical dimension of antenna by using modulation. I told earlier that when we are using wireless channel, we will require antenna at the transmitter side as well as the receiver side. At the transmitter side, the antenna is going to convert the electrical signal into a three-dimensional signal, and at the receiver side, the antenna is going to pick that same three-dimensional signal and convert it back to an electrical signal. So we need at the transmitter as well as the receiver. Now we know that wavelength is given by speed of light by frequency, and also we know that the largest physical dimension of antenna is dependent on the wavelength of the signal that it is receiving, right? So the largest physical dimension of antenna will be dependent on the wavelength that it is receiving. So now so you can say size of the antenna is directly dependent on the wavelength of the signal that it is receiving, and we also know that the wavelength is given by c by f. So you can say the size of the antenna is inversely proportional to the frequency. In case I have low frequency signal, the size of the antenna will be very large. Okay, let us say I'm transmitting a signal that has highest frequency component to be 30 kilohertz. Right, this is message signal frequency, highest frequency. I'm transmitting it, so the wavelength will be 3, because we are transmitting wirelessly, so the speed will be 3 into 10 to the power 8, that's speed of light, divided by 30 kilohertz. Now this becomes 3 into 10 to the power 8 by 3 into 10 to the power 4. So it becomes 10 kilometer. What is this? This wavelength, if we are transmitting without modulation, that 30 kilohertz without any modulation, if we are transmitting, 10 kilometer will be the wavelength. So physical dimension of the antenna has to be around 10 kilometer. Is that possible? We cannot construct an antenna having 10 kilometer size, right? So now what we can do is we can increase this frequency. How we increase? By using modulation technique. Now the lambda will be 3 into 10 to the power 8. Let's say I've increased the frequency to 300 megahertz by using modulation. Now what will the lambda be? So it will be 1 meter. Now antenna size required is just 1 meter. I can physically construct 1 meter antenna size, right? So that's the use of modulation technique, and that is the main reason why we need modulation. So the antenna size required is very small. Also it is used for multiplexing signals. Let's say I have two message signal, M1 and M2, and M1 frequency component is f1 hertz and M2 frequency component is also f1 hertz, right? I have two, like, these two are different signals but they have the same frequency component. Now I have just one channel to transmit. How will I do that? Now modulation is really helpful. I can use modulation technique and I can change this frequency, increase its frequency to some f2 hertz and its frequency to some f3 hertz. Now I can combine these two and together send them on the same channel. Now they're not going to interfere because f2 hertz and f3 hertz are different frequencies, but at the receiver I can again use the demodulation technique and I can get f1 hertz for M1 signal and f1 hertz for the M2 signal. So it can be helpful in multiplexing of n number of signals. Is required for spectrum allocation. Now I told the government sells the spectrums, and these telecom companies buy spectrum. Obviously these spectrums are not sold forever to a company. They have some lease period. After that they have to stop using that spectrum and they have to renew their license and stuff like that. So their equipment, whatever the telecommunication equipment they have, right, should be able to switch to a different spectrum. And how that can be done? By using modulation. Let's say I have a communication device, amplifier. Let's say I have an amplifier, but this amplifier works only in the frequency range of 20 kilohertz to 30 kilohertz, but my message signal is just of 10 kilohertz. Now this signal cannot be amplified by this amplifier because it's out of its frequency range. What we can do? We can apply modulation here, then increase its frequency to 15 kilohertz, give that signal to the amplifier. Now the message signal of our 10 kilohertz will get amplified. Now that 15 kilohertz we can again demodulate it and bring it to 10 kilohertz, as same as the initial message signal which we had. So that's how we are overcoming the limitation of this amplifier by using modulation technique. Now we also need modulation to convert wideband signal into a narrowband signal. What is wideband signal? Wideband signal In wideband signal, the highest component of frequency to the lowest component of frequency ratio is very greater than 1. In narrowband signal, the highest component of the frequency to the lowest component of frequency ratio is approximately 1. We will see this later, but you just remember this. Wideband signal, highest component of frequency to lowest component frequency ratio is very greater than 1, and narrowband, it's approximately equal to 1. So it's used to convert wideband signal into narrowband signal.